This video contains graphic depictions of suicide and death, which some viewers might find disturbing. It is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. This episode of Are You Scared is brought to you by the new film, Smile 2. Get your tickets to this must-see theatrical horror event only in theaters October 18th. When the right person smiles at us, it can be the difference between a good and a bad day. But not all smiles are created equal. Where some offer goodwill, others can hide malicious intentions or even nightmares. I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it till the end of the night. Smiling 2. You'd think living in a beautiful small town where everyone knows each other would be idyllic, but I always hated it. There's no secret that's safe from judgmental eyes or loose lips, so keeping up appearances is paramount when you're part of a family like mine. My father was the local prosecutor, and my grandfather was the mayor. Smile like you mean it, my mother would always say before any public event. We were raised on the principle that our issues should never affect the family or our image, because that could get in the way of my father's career aspirations. We had to be the perfect family, and nothing gets rid of a problem faster than a warm and genuine smile.
Do you feel this sort of pressure with your father being a dentist?
No, actually, that's interesting.
Smiles more than anything matter to a dentist.
I guess in a weird way, I have been a billboard for my father my whole life.
And now your brother's a dentist too, and you're
true.
And you're the family disappointment.
Well, why would
the little ugly duckling, aren't you?
Oh, because I'm not a dentist. I thought you were saying because I had like fucked up teeth or something.
No, you've got very nice teeth.
Thank you.
So let's see them.
One night during my last year of middle school, we got a knock on our front door from the police. There had been an accident. My older sister Sierra's crashed car was found on the side of the mountain. There was no evidence of a collision, nor any other car being present. We went as a family that night to identify her body. A united front, my mother said. Oh shit!
Whoa!
Wait, I didn't, well, they should have led with that. I didn't realize the sister had died.
A funny thing happened at some point in my life. My sister died.
No, they were like, my sister got into a car crash. There wasn't any other drivers on the road. The car was fine. She's dead. It's just weird to end the description of the crash with that as opposed to leading with
Maybe
it.
this person is no stranger to tragedy, and so this is but a blip on the radar, you know?
They're just expected to smile through it.
You gotta smile right through it.
Sierra was a straight A student, captain of the high school varsity cheerleading squad, and was even dating the football team's star quarterback. She was kind, smart, and charismatic. And now, she was gone. The police said it's possible that she swerved to avoid an animal, as the toxicology reports came back negative for everything. But we all knew those roads. There were no animals around.
You know, if you hit a deer, you can keep the meat.
What?
You're legally allowed to keep the meat if you hit a deer.
Why would you want to do that?
Because it's good. Venison? You ever had venison?
I guess, but I'm just not, I think I would be more concerned that I
goes
just
a long way.
splattered a deer to be like, oh, it's jerky time. How do you know that? Have you hit a deer before?
No, but I've driven through Pennsylvania.
The question still stands. How do you know that?
Just these are laws that you need to be aware of if you want free meat.
Is the letter of the law it has to be in the road when you hit it, or can you see a deer in like a meadow and just be like, off-road time?
I think you can go after it.
Yeah.
You take it to the local butcher and you say, I've got a fresh one here.
And then they say, what happened?
Oh, you again.
Rachel, Sierra's former best friend, would later tell me everything my sister had kept from our family. Maybe she felt like I deserved to know, or maybe it was out of guilt. But it turns out that some members of the cheerleading squad had been bullying her. Her boyfriend wasn't good to her, and she had been struggling in school that last year. All things I could have helped support her with, if only I had known to ask. But that was the problem with our family. We never talked about our problems. We were expected to hide them behind a smile. My sister died behind that smile. Hey, look, folks.
Talk to someone.
Talk to somebody. If you need help, make sure you talk to your friends, you talk to your family. After the car accident, my parents were never the same. They became even more withdrawn and hardly paid any attention to me. All they cared about was moving past Sierra's death, and focusing on my father's bid for a judgeship, of which he was eventually appointed. There was nothing left for me in my hometown. I knew the only way to escape the glittering cage of my family and my father's career was to leave. So I poured all of my passion and energy into musical theater. I wanted to study in New York and eventually make it on Broadway. I knew it was a long shot, but I believed I could do it. I had to do it. When I received my acceptance letter from NYU, I knew I would never be coming back. By the way, what do you think about someone powering through tragedy via musical theater?
Hey, whatever rocks your boat,
Then again, we've powered through our lives by hunting ghosts and, goofing around. So I guess doing a little tap dance or...
Either you're a musical theater major or you're a ghost hunter.
Those are the only two options that I've been presented with.
Yeah.
And I don't...
Someone presented musical theater
They
to you?
said you either sing in Les Mis or you hunt ghosts with that guy. And I said, I'm going with that guy. I don't know how to sing. My high school friends threw me a goodbye bash the night before I left. It was a Sky Riley karaoke party. I was excited to start my new life, but being so far away from my chosen family was going to be tough. I've read your cards. There's nothing for you in New York, my friend Kim said. Are you licensed to use those? I asked, grabbing the cards out of her hand, laughing. I'm just kidding. You're going to do great and become a big Broadway star, she said. I gave her a big hug and reassured her that our friend Evangeline would be looking out for me. She'd already helped me find an apartment and get an audition for an old dinner theater. We'd also planned that she would be the one to pick me up from the train station. Kim insisted that I'd miss our small town charm. Nobody smiles in New York, she said. I don't care, I told her. I just want this so badly.
I had a going away party when I left Illinois.
How many people went?
30,
Greater or
40?
30, 40 people?
I'm going to be a ghost hunter. I had my stick and bindle. I hopped on, I jumped aboard a train that was passing. I'll see you, I'm going to Tinseltown. They all ran along the train.
Yeah.
Look!
You were like 5'4" at that time?
That's right.
And over the passage of time, just kept growing.
Yeah, I was 8 years old.
As I got off the train, a conductor smiled at me and welcomed me to New York. I thanked him and smiled back, happy to know that Kim was wrong. I ended up waiting for 2 hours in the main concourse of Grand Central Station. I had tried calling and texting Evangeline, but she never showed. Knowing that I couldn't just stay there with my luggage, I gathered up my courage and hailed my first cab. I knew everything would be different from now on. No one knew who I was here. There were crowds and noise, street vendors on every block, steam billowing up from the ground, and buildings that touched the sky. I was finally free from the rigid expectations of my family and the small town I used to call home. I was ready to be who I've always wanted to be. This is probably pretty nice, honestly. If you came from a small town where everybody knows everybody and everyone's in your business.
A new start.
Going to a place where no one gives a shit about you.
It's nice to be in New York and just blend into the crowd.
Just walk
everywhere else we go, people are, oh, cool boys, sign my baby.
Oh, no one does that.
Yeah, they do.
I've
signed so many babies,
You've signed so many babies?
At this point, I don't even let them ask because I know they're gonna.
You just go ahead.
I just go up with my Sharpie.
Sign their forehead.
Baby. Yeah.
My apartment was small but cozy. It had a tiny fireplace and old-fashioned plumbing, the kind that rattled every time someone flushed a toilet. The neighbors all seemed to be influencers, actors, and musicians. I tried my best to get to know them beyond basic pleasantries in the elevator, but they were always rushing off somewhere, or on the phone. Thinking back to what Kim had said, I felt the tiniest twinge of homesickness. A few days later, I met Vicky. We were in the same freshman orientation group and instantly bonded over our shared taste in music. I told her that my neighbors didn't seem to like me much, but she assured me that it was just a New York thing. Eventually, she said, I'd be just as put off by a random stranger smiling at me as any other New Yorker. I went home that evening feeling great about having made a new friend. So great, in fact, that I decided that I was going to throw a party the next day. A sort of meet your new neighbor party. Do you know your neighbors well?
No. Everyone in my building all has dogs. They all walk their dogs and go outside and they're like, yo, look at your dog. Can we say hi? And then the dogs, sniff each other and then they bond. And I look at them through my window with my cat and I'm like, why don't they talk to me?
Well, I mean, it's not their fault they're talking about their dogs. I'm sure when you're looking out the blinds
you should hear them laughing about their
you're
dogs.
probably sitting there like this, looking out the blinds going, You see that, Obi? Look at all these fucking people. They're talking about their dogs. You're talking to your cat.
I'm a normal guy. Do you know your neighbors?
No, I never have. And
even growing up?
No, I knew my neighbors growing up.
Okay.
That's true when I was a child.
Yeah.
You start to lose that instinct to go play with your neighbors around like when you're an adult.
You don't knock on your dude. Hey, do you want to play?
I wrote out invitations on little scraps of paper and taped one on each of my neighbors' doors. I also texted an invite to Vicky and Evangeline's girlfriend, Cassandra, because even though I was still pissed at Evangeline for abandoning me at Grand Central and disappearing for days, I didn't want Cassandra to think she was guilty by association. The next evening, as I was preparing for the party, I got an apologetic text from Vicky saying that the party was too short notice and that she had already made plans for the night. I said I understood and to not worry about it. I tried to not let the cancellation get me down, but I was a little bummed. I never got a reply from Cassandra either. After about 2 hours, I gave up, turned off the music, and started cleaning.
Sad.
That's rough. You ever throw a party and no one comes?
No, everybody always shows up. Yeah, I've lived a blessed life.
Bang, bang, bang. I rushed to my door and looked through the peephole. Evangeline was struggling with the doorknob. She looked like she had just run a marathon. I opened the door and she immediately rushed in. She was crazed, frantic even. There was no consoling her. It was like she was running away from something invisible. I closed the door behind us. Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay? I asked, trying to calm her down. I'd known her since grade school, and I'd never seen her act like this. She turned around and screamed, "Get away from me!" Suddenly, she fell to her knees as her eyes rolled back. Guttural gurgles spilled from her wide-open mouth, and she started convulsing like she was choking. I was frozen in fear. Abruptly, all the terrible noises stopped. She stood straight up and looked at me, her cheeks peeling back in the most terrifying smile you could ever imagine. Before I could react, Evangeline grabbed the poker hanging from my tiny fireplace and jammed the metal rod straight through her neck, all the while smiling that horrific smile at me. Her body lay still on the floor as her blood gushed out in horrible spurts. I called the police.
Only in New York. You know?
This only happens in the Big Apple. This is why you don't see any fireplaces in New York apartments. This happens.
This happened to Steven when he moved there. That's why he moved back. He didn't like it.
Whatever sleep I got that night was forced on by exhaustion. I couldn't get what had happened out of my mind. The next morning, I found myself staring at the ripped out carpet on the floor where Evangeline bled out. Still in a state of shock, I was devastated, but I couldn't even cry. I felt so empty. Despite all the commotion from last night, none of my neighbors ever came to check on me. The only people who showed up were the cops and my landlord. After the cops had left, my landlord decided to cut out the bloody part of the carpet. He could tell I was shaken and didn't want me to suffer more than I needed to. He said he'd replace it soon. I was left with so many questions. Why did she do it? And why couldn't I stop thinking about that bone-chilling smile?
Probably because she was smiling when she stabbed herself in the neck with a fire poker.
Yeah,
I can't stop thinking about that. I don't know why that one.
I can't figure it out.
It burned into my mind. What a strange thing.
That's a question I can answer easily in a lightning round. 2 days later, my audition for the dinner theater came around. I was still severely shaken from what had happened. What's worse is that Evangeline was the one who helped me find this opportunity. I debated about whether or not to cancel, but decided I shouldn't flake on my first real audition. On my cab ride over there, the driver tried to make some small talk with me, but I couldn't focus, so I just gave short replies. I remember looking up at the rearview mirror to see his face. His cheeks were strained with that same awful smile, the one I couldn't get out of my head. I rubbed my eyes and the smile was gone. I knew it couldn't be real, but I was starting to lose touch. I made it through my audition, but it wasn't my best performance. I kept getting flashbacks of that smile. I thought I saw it on one of the other performers' faces in the waiting room, and on the show director's face during my song. I thought I saw it again on a woman's face across the street when I left the theater. I didn't know what was happening. I knew I was suffering from trauma, but these smiles didn't feel imagined. They felt real.
I mean,
mean, they could have been smiling because she was giving a great performance.
I never thought about that. That's the crazy thing about the smile. You can't trust smiles no more.
That's true.
A baby smile at you, you're writing a little nice message on the baby's forehead with a Sharpie. Baby smile? Is that baby actually happy to see me?
I can't think of anything more scary than a baby turning to look at me and
with the smile?
With a big smile with a little baby beanie on. That would be terrifying.
They've really
I'd set that stroller on fire.
Stumbled onto a nice horror concept with this franchise. I gotta be honest.
The next 3 days changed everything. I started seeing the smile on people at school, on the subway, in the grocery store, everywhere. There was something so viscerally horrid about the severity of it. I ran into Vicky on the way to one of my classes, and she apologized again for not being able to come to my party.
Honestly, Vicky, good call.
Yeah.
How'd it go? Well, we had queso.
She offered to come over later to hang out, and I accepted. I needed friendship. I needed a distraction. I needed to stop seeing that smile. Vicky came over that night. We were watching a movie on my couch when I suddenly broke down. She asked what had happened, and I couldn't keep it in anymore. I told her all about how no one had come to the party, and then about Evangeline. She wrapped me in a hug as I wept. She nodded along, patiently listening. "That's absolutely awful," she said as I managed to stop crying. "I wonder what caused her to do that." "I don't know," I whimpered. Vicky leaned in close and grabbed my face with her hands. "Maybe you should have asked her. Maybe you made it all about yourself again, just like with your sister."
Vicky. Hang on a sec.
Grabbing someone's face too. "Maybe you're a piece of shit. You ever think about that?" This is obviously in her head though, right?
Yeah, probably.
Let's find out. It felt like a bucket of ice water was dumped on me. A chill shot up my spine. I pushed Vicky away and got up from the couch. Vicky looked up at me with what looked like real compassion and concern. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I never told you about my sister," I said, backing away, my voice shaking. Vicky's face broke into the same warped smile I had been dreading since I saw it on Evangeline. She stood up and started walking towards me. "Leave me alone!" I screamed, frantically trying to get away. I tripped on the cut-up carpet and fell. Vicky stood over me as I fumbled towards the front door. She got closer and closer. I shut my eyes in fear.
Oh boy, what's she gonna do?
It's poker time.
Well, no, it's probably gonna be something different.
She probably threw away the poker.
Probably gonna try and swallow a telephone or something. They always come up with new ways to.
That's true. That would be disturbing.
After a beat, I opened my eyes again. Vicky was gone. I was alone in my apartment, on the floor, huddled up against the door. The real Vicky had never come. Or maybe I'd only ever just seen her at school. I didn't know what was real and what was happening in my own mind. I went to the bathroom and splashed some water on my face.
There, in the mirror, standing right behind me, was my sister, with that awful smile on her beautiful face. I turned towards her, but she was gone.
Feeling more and more alone, I tried calling Kim, but it just went to voicemail. My mom didn't answer either. I even tried calling my dad, but of course, no answer. I was deeply and truly alone.
In frustration, I threw my phone as hard as I could, cracking the screen. Nothing was making sense. I knew there was only one person I needed to talk to. I grabbed my stuff and rushed towards Cassandra and Evangeline's apartment.
What a scary thing to think about.
People around you smiling while they're doing horrible things to themselves, like swallowing a telephone or chewing on a light bulb.
Chewing on a light bulb.
"Open up," I cried, banging on the door. "Please, I need to talk to you." Cassandra cracked open the door. "What do you want from me?" she said in a small, defeated voice. "I don't know why she did it. If that's why you're here, none of it makes any sense. Please just tell me what you know," I said. Cassandra's eyes softened. She opened the door and let me in. Her eyes were puffy and red, like she had been crying nonstop for days. The plants in the windowsill were wilted, and the apartment was a mess. "I have no idea what happened," she said. "All I know is that Evangeline's spiral started when she saw one of her acting professors get decapitated by some stage equipment."
Yeah, that'll do it.
I have no idea what happened. She seemed pretty distressed after she saw her professor's head get cut off. Maybe that's where it started. I thought about it for a second. I'd heard that a Professor Cohen had died at the school's theater, but I didn't know Evangeline was with him. She said she kept seeing these unsettling smiles everywhere, and then, she couldn't say it, but we both knew. I frantically pulled out my phone and looked for an article about Mr. Cohen. Professor Marshall Cohen's death comes just a week following that of his brother-in-law, Elliot Coldwater, whose mysterious death is still being investigated, I read aloud. My stomach dropped, the blood draining from my face as the realization hit me. Ever since Evangeline died, I've started seeing the smiles too, I said, my hands shaking. Cohen must have seen his brother-in-law die. Then Evangeline saw him, and then I saw her. This is how it spreads. Cassandra's eyes started to widen with terror as she took everything in. You sound just like Evangeline did before. Suddenly her face hardened and her voice turned cold. You need to leave. Please, did she tell you anything else? I pleaded, tears starting to well up in my eyes. Get the hell out, Cassandra said through gritted teeth as she grabbed me and forced me towards the door.
You need to believe me, I cried as she pushed me out of the apartment. I don't, Cassandra said as she slammed the door in my face.
I don't wish to smile upon my worst enemies. I really don't. I really don't.
That's real big of you.
It sounds...
You don't want your worst enemies to stab themselves in the neck with a fireplace poker?
I don't.
I can't believe you would take a stand like that.
It's a rough life to be infected with the smile.
I think so. It would make you do something crazy.
Thoughts and prayers.
Like cover yourself in oil and smash this very, very real oil lantern over your head.
Set myself on fire.
Set yourself on fire.
Yeah.
I saw a neighbor in the hall on the way back to my apartment. She waved and smiled a friendly smile, but I ignored her. I don't know what's real at this point anymore, and I don't want to risk spreading this curse to anyone else. Whatever it is, I know it's going to take hold of me soon. I can feel it creeping into every crevice of my mind, my soul. Its dark grip getting tighter and tighter as I lose more and more control. The only thing I could say for certain is that I'm truly and utterly alone in this. I'm starting to see my sister in every dark corner of my apartment now, but I know it's not her. My sister had a beautiful smile, the kind of smile that could hide anything.
So, are you scared? What would you even do in this scenario if you knew you had it and the only way it would end is if you did something in front of someone else? I guess you live a life of solitude.
What do they call those giant, like, inflatable balls?
Oh, yeah. Like
you get yourself in one of those.
And nothing can happen.
You can't hurt yourself.
Or you just go to the mountains in like a remote cabin in the woods. Then again, I guess like a squirrel would maybe see you do something horrible and then the squirrel would then...
A little squirrel smile.
The squirrel will start seeing all the other squirrels do...
Squirrel just bashing itself on the head with an acorn.
People on a road trip, so with that fucking squirrel.
Squirrel's just in the road waiting for a car.
You crush it, you eat the meat. It all starts that way. Anyways, this story was written by Tiffy, Wang, and Mikey Karr, so thank you to you both for writing this story. And for those of you who made it, we'll see you next time. Smiling. This episode of Are You Scared is brought to you by the Paramount film Smile 2, only in theaters October 18th. Ha 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 ha!